Welcome to the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Alston, and it is once again my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. I am excited because today we have a two-time return and corporate sponsor here on the podcast today. I think she's phenomenal. You guys have to check out her podcast from last year because you're going to see just how amazing she is, and she is going to be even more amazing when she tells you what's been up since 2017. So I am just really ecstatic to have her back on this platform. And just generally, she has been a really huge supporter of my organization, of what I'm doing, and we have worked on a couple of collaborations together. So I'm just really excited to talk to her again today. So 2018 has definitely been one of the biggest podcasts to date. And so if you are not on this podcast platform, you definitely have to be on it in 2019. So I look forward to seeing you, hearing from you in 2019. So don't miss out. Just in case you didn't know, the purpose of the BMWOC is to not only share our industry information, but we are encouraging you, the working professionals, career seekers, and enthusiasts, to look at the different trends of our industry and understand how it's changing and will affect you. So make sure you visit all the pages we're going to have posted, check out all the podcasts, and reach out to the BMWOC community to get your information to help your business or your personal life, because you can't get this information anywhere else other than the BMWOC community. Before we get started, we would like to take a moment to thank our corporate partners and sponsors, which are Cat Serrano LLC, Cheryl Wood Empowers, Concern and Learning, Evangelism Radio, Genesis Preferred Solution, J Coach International, Nails Tax Help, My Financial Home, P.O.W.E.R, STCI, and the student teacher, along with our other business affiliate sponsors and all of the participants that are here to support this effort. So today I am here back with Andrea Landry Brown, who is one of our corporate sponsors, and she is the founder of P.O.W.E.R. And I'm going to let her tell you what that stands for because it is very dynamic. And she is also an online talk show, which is We Are One, that focuses on educating, advocating, and highlighting of mental health recovery and success. And she's very good at that. She has a lot of videos that she does that really focuses on coping skills and how do you overcome any type of anxiety or depression or anything that's related to mental health. She is also an accomplished writer, speaker, and peer mentor trainer. And she also has a master's degree in psychology. And Andrea, she just goes out there and she really strives to educate people on this stuff. And I want you to take a few minutes to check out the rest of her bio because she has some really interesting stuff on there, about her book and everything, which she's going to talk about again today. So Andrea, girlfriend, welcome to the podcast. Welcome back.
Hey, ho. I am so excited to be back on this podcast. I tell you, just the fact that we can get the information out there and reach so many people on dispelling the stigma about mental illness, I am just all for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I want to remind people that just go ahead and just scroll all the way down to the bottom of this page and just click on her link and listen to her story because her story is so compelling. And you can give a little bit of that, Andrea, for those who are not able to listen to the podcast. If you can just kind of give a little snippet of, just your background story. And then we're going to get into some of the stuff that you're doing right now.
Oh, sure. I grew up in Compton, California. I'm originally from Chicago. I was raised by a single mom. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and PTSD in 2006, which was a rude awakening for me. It was harrowing and definitely detrimental. Made me angry and kind of needed to hide. Took me about a little over a year before I decided that I needed to look it up and stop fighting what was going on with me so that I could heal and recover. And after I began to look up what bipolar was and understand what the symptoms were and what I was going through in life, it was time to heal. It was time to find different management skills so that I could learn how to live a productive life.
Okay. All righty. And so from then on, you got your master's degree. You've gone on to do a lot of speaking engagements, and you have your live videos that you do on Facebook every week. And then you even went on to do a talk show. So let's talk about some of these things that you provide, some of the messages that you provide, because over the last year, there's been this really heightened awareness of people having different types of mental illness. And so one of the things I want to bring out, which is why I have so many people in this area, because I think people are now starting to see that we need to have some sort of regimen or some sort of therapy or something to help people with mental illness that is either suffering in silence, or they're not saying anything, or family members is not recognizing it. So, we can start with just the general messages that you do in your Facebook messages so that people can come and listen to what you're saying.
Okay, well, I'll start off by saying this is one of the reasons why I created P.O.W.E.R, which is what you were saying before about so many people being diagnosed and not understanding their diagnosis, not understanding what is supposed to happen in life next. Because I remember going through that same darkness in my life when I found out about my bipolar. And the P.O.W.E.R is an anagram. It stands for Progressive, Organized, Wellness, Empowering Recovery. And basically what it means is this. Just like when you gain weight, it doesn't automatically come overnight. It is a progressive thing. If you're eating too much, if you're doing too much or whatever, the weight eventually comes on, especially as you get older. Same thing happens when you are in recovery or even going through mental illness. There may be some type of traumatic event that happened in your life that may have triggered those particular symptoms to come on, but it gradually grows and the symptoms gradually get worse or they gradually get better. So the progressive is the gradualness of how to feel better, how to manage those particular symptoms. The organization comes from putting things in perspective. What are some of the things that are going on with you? What are some of the things that are bothering you? Is it anxiety? Is it schizophrenia? Is it bipolar? Is it depression? What are these things? And then the symptoms that you're going through, how to organize a pattern of wellness tools to help you get through those symptoms, to help you feel better. And that's what empowers you as you walk through your recovery. So that goes through my anagram. And that's what encouraged me to create the live streams that I do on Facebook last year. Last year was so empowering all by itself. I started off with the talk show, the We Are One, because there's so many negative things that we see on television regarding mental illness, and it all goes back to that stigma about mentally ill people need to be locked up. They need to be in a hospital. They can't do anything but just have nothing. So I wanted to show that, according to NAMI.org, 1 out of 5 people suffer through some form of mental illness, but they lead perfectly whatever normal is lives, okay? They have successful home lives, they have successful business lives, they have successful work lives. We're all going through some form of something to where we have to deal with it. Not everybody has a great day. Some people have bad days. Some people have bad hair days. There are times when you don't want to smile. There are times when you are feeling kind of sad. So those are like different forms of mental illness, even though it may not be severe. Now, when you go through the severity of those particular symptoms, that's what makes it be called a particular mental illness. We Are One wanted to showcase the fact that even though you're going through some things, you're still quite capable of living a healthy, great quality of life. So as I began to air those particular videos, I began to think about the different moods. I hear people talk about their moods all the time. I'm not feeling very well. I don't want to do this. My mood is just in the toilet. So I wanted to showcase different moods, which is why Mood Monday came to be. even though you may experience different moods throughout the day, those particular moods may change every minute, every second, every hour, or just stay the same through that day. So expressing whatever mood that is and journaling about it, can help you get through that particular mood. It can help either uplift it, maybe moderate it some, maybe minimize it. Well, not minimize it, but smooth it out. That's a better phrase. Because we don't want to minimize anyone's mood. We want to help improve how they feel and how they think about themselves. So just in having a particular show only about moods helps people to understand what mood that they're in, and then practice mindfulness and moderating it and managing it. Then the third one was the coping skills. Now, coping skills is a fancy way of saying pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. At least that's what my mother used to say when we were younger.
Mm-hmm.
When you're developing coping skills, you're developing different methods on how to manage whatever issue that you are dealing with at the time, whether they be anxiety, depression, hearing voices, restlessness. Just taking the time to do mindful things helps you to refocus and to give a new perspective. Like, my biggest thing is I love to bake. If I'm focusing on whatever it is that I'm doing in the kitchen and mixing those ingredients together and paying attention to whatever the instructions say on how to cook whatever it is that I'm baking, I'm not focusing on the fact that I don't feel good. I'm not focusing on the fact that I'm angry or whatever mood that I'm going through at that moment. It helps me to redirect my attention. And then as I'm accomplishing this particular goal, it makes me feel better. I'm smiling. Look at what I've baked. Look what I've cooked. Look what I've created. So in doing the coping skills on the Wednesdays, Wednesday is hump day, right? So I chose
Right.
Wednesday because it is the
Mm-hmm.
middle of the day. A lot of people are going to work or doing whatever their thing is, like, I've gotten through the middle of the week, now what? So I figured the Wednesday, the hump day, the middle, would be the best time to develop some different coping skills, some different mindful habits.
Nice, nice, nice. And you said the same thing that two other people said earlier, which what you said about journaling and writing down, how you feel, and so that you can reflect on and you can see how you can fix your issues. And sometimes journaling can help you see your accomplishments. And you said that. I think somebody else has said that. And it seems to be one of those things that people always like to do, or they should do. I know I used to journal. I used to journal my prayers all the time. I used to carry like a little book with me, and every day or every other day, I would just write down my prayers and my wants and my wishes. And then I would go back like a month later and look at it like, wow, I didn't even know I had did that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. But I really believe that you actually you have taken something that people can sit back and just not do anything with. I mean, I know that I suffer with depression and anxiety, and people can go off in a corner, but somehow or another, you've been able to push through all that stuff and create a platform in which you can put all this stuff out on the shelf and say, you know what, this is how I'm feeling, this is how I'm coping. There's other people that's doing that and have really been successful doing that. And I want people to start thinking of different avenues that's in a positive way, like what you have done, with your live videos and all that good stuff. I just really admire, and not just because you're my corporate sponsor, but I'm just saying I really admire, that I try to catch your videos as much as possible, because a lot of times you're just speaking my language, and it's just really empowering.
Oh, thank you. I try really hard, and I make sure that I even do a lot of my videos while I'm going through whatever issue it is that I'm going through. Because I remember my husband asking me, he says, why do you do that? Why do you make it everybody's business that you're having a panic attack or that you're depressed or whatever? I said, because there's somebody out there that can't speak on whatever it is that they're feeling. They can't speak on whatever it is that they're seeing, or they don't understand why it is they're going through it. If they see me going through the same thing that they're going through, it gives them a voice. it gives them a different thought. It gives them a way of management and maybe something that they can think of out of the box. Because I tell you, you said you suffer through anxiety, and I don't know about you, but when I'm going through it,
Mhm.
my thoughts are racing. The last
Yeah.
thing I'm thinking about is how can I make this stop, or what
Right.
can I do next? And all I'm thinking about is what can I break and can I make it stop?
Right. I think, and you're so right. A lot of us suffer at some form of fashion, some level of anxiety, whether it be a tiny bit or maybe they're just frustrated and not realizing it's anxiety. But just like you and some of the other therapists who I have talked to on this podcast all says we all need a therapist. We all need to get with someone who's objective so that we can keep each other in check, for our
Absolutely.
anxiety. Because if you're finding yourself just, matter of fact, I'll give you a perfect example. It was one time I think we were having a conversation and I mentioned about, I think it was on one of my Facebook posts about the types of anxiety where you sort of feel like that you just got to get out of a situation and it almost mirrors like you're having a panic attack. It's
Yes.
not, sometimes you can have that level of anxiety and it's not really panic. It's more of just feeling insecure or feeling like, there's something going on and then it passes.
Mhm.
It's such a weird thing and it's so dynamic. And as we see in the news from people who are doing these shootings, mass killings, um, committing suicide, we all know now that it's not the norm. It's not the typical, this is what we consider to be anxiety or depression. It is so different now. The way that people are explaining. I mean, look at Linkin Park, Chester, the lead singer, where he actually told people over a number of years in his interview how he was mentally feeling. And so when he committed suicide this year, everybody is like, what are you talking about? Why did he do that? you know?
Right.
And it's just really sad because he pretty much said in his last interview, and anybody who wants to know about this particular story, if they could just go to YouTube and look up his last interview, he pretty much said that no matter what or who he talked to, he still could never get past it. And that's the dangerous part because people will either do one or the other. Either they will become violent or they will take their life. And we can't afford
Or
to keep losing our lives, through
or
that.
they become violent and lose their lives
Oh,
because you
yeah.
you have people who can't bear the thought of going alone, or
Right.
they like I remember doing an interview with a cop. I had gone to a conference, and it was a crisis intervention conference, and the police officer was saying that there are many people out there who are depressed who literally do what they call suicide by cop. And what it is they don't have the nerve, they don't have the will to do it themselves. They can't pull it off themselves. So what they do is they think about other ways of finding someone to do it for them. So either they'll go and stand in front of a cop and point a gun at them, or they'll put themselves in situations to where they have other people's lives in their hands to force a police officer to shoot them. And see, you mentioned Lincoln Park, and to be totally honest with you, I hadn't heard that one, but I'll tell you who I do remember. I remember Robin Williams.
Oh,
And I
yeah, that was
remember
another
when,
one.
yes, when he passed on. Just
Mhm.
the joy that he brought to us, and then thinking about the sadness that he was going through, the depression, the deep depression that he was going through, and the fact that he was a recovering addict,
Mhm.
trying to not only bring joy to his
Mhm.
audience, but to try and lift himself up too.
Right.
He couldn't find a way to talk to a therapist to help him get through. And even when we're talking to our therapist, we're not sharing everything. We have to remember that the therapist can't help you if you're not being totally honest. You have to be totally honest. You have to find someone that you can not only depend on, but that you can trust. Because there are some things that we want to keep to ourselves. Not everybody wants to share their depression. I know, and I'm guilty of that. I am an isolator like you wouldn't believe. I don't want everybody all up in my business. I don't want everybody to feel what it is that I'm feeling. So I will go in somebody's corner and just hide and hide. And what happens is in that hiding, you don't let out the truth. okay? Or you'll placate whatever truth it is that you have going on, and you're sitting in front of your therapist going, yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, this is happening. I got you. Well, thank you. I'll see you next week. Or the therapist budgets, many of the therapists who are receiving Medicaid and Medicare and not necessarily the private insurance, but some of the more public insurance, they have cut down their listening sessions to like 15 and 20 minutes so that they can get
Mm,
the maximum amount of people in their office. And what
right.
they don't realize is that they're cutting these people off at the knees. So here you are, you go and you expressing yourself and you're trying to really get it out, and then you get cut off at the knees before you can really get out what's going on. So what I say to those people is be honest. We mentioned about journaling. Write down your journal, what's going on with you, every single detail, even the most painful thoughts that you can think of. Please write it down. If you don't have time that you can sit with your therapist and ask your therapist if you can leave the journal with them. If you trust them that much, let them have your journal. Let them read your journal so that they can come back with you and say, okay, I feel your pain. I see your pain. Let's address this and help you feel better, just so that you won't find yourself in a
Hmm.
situation to where you are doing suicide by cop or out there being violent and hurting other people simply because you want to dull the pain that's inside.
Exactly. And you know what? Speaking of journaling, you did a book that is called The 12 Steps to Reclaim Your Mental Wellness, which is an excellent workbook because I know I got one from her, y'all. And she has some really great information in here that make you think. She has lines to ask you your questions. So talk a little bit about this book, how you came up with the concept of this book, and what the real purpose is, because I think they want to hear it from you rather than me, right?
Well, to be totally honest with you, and you'll probably laugh, this actually started off as a joke. I was thinking about the 12 days of Christmas. And I remember the year before I had did the videos of 12 days of mental health cheer. And so it had started off as a joke, fa la 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 la. But then when I got ready to write it out, I said, okay, I'm going to make this like a little handheld thing that I can put on one of my webinars or what have you. But it grew. It really grew. So instead of it being a joke, it came out to something a whole lot more serious. Being very creative about self-love. I believe I talked about taking trips. And there's the vacation and the staycation. And I remember trying to explain to my husband what a staycation was.
Yeah, what is a staycation? Talk about that.
Well, a staycation is basically for those of us who are don't have enough funds to actually go out on a big vacation. A staycation is when you take the time to have self time. You have all your favorite little things around. Say you may go to a bed and breakfast at the lake. That would be a great staycation. Or turn your living room into like a cookout area. You can put a tent in there and have your a little
That sounds fun.
TV and then a
Wow.
bucket of popcorn
Mm.
and have your music going and then kick everybody out. You're
See,
there
that
all
sounds
by
like one of
yourself.
my times. I used to do that years
Exactly.
ago. Oh
And
man.
there's a staycation. Or better yet, say you want to go to the park. You can go to the park where there's a nice lake and kick your feet up and watch the birds or read a book or listen to some. That's a great staycation. So a staycation is basically just being someplace that you're comfortable, taking some time to self-love on you. Whereas a vacation, we typically think about a vacation when we're going to take a trip somewhere, like on a cruise or maybe flying off to somewhere, what have you. And even if you're taking a vacation, I always say to make sure you cut it short like a day or two. And the reason
Yeah.
being is that usually when you plan a vacation, you have this huge itinerary about all the things you want to do, and then by the time you come home, you're exhausted, right? Because you done had all that fun, you done did all of that stuff, and now you got to go back to work. So if you bring yourself home like a day or two early, you give yourself time to reacclimate to life. And then when it comes time to going back to work, you have had a day to rest, you're all chill, and then you can fix yourself back into the everyday life that you have to do.
Absolutely. And I like the staycations. Now, I never knew that that was a name, but one of the things that my husband and I love to do is every so often we would just go and get a hotel on the other side of town that we don't visit as much. And we would have a hotel and we would go and we would go to the shopping malls and we would do all that. And it could be like for one day or 2 days over the weekend and we come right back home. And a lot of times it help us learn like what is on the other side of Maryland because Maryland is such a huge state already. So we just pick places to go and say, okay, we're just going to go and just chill out. There's no other family members and just be ourselves. So I guess that's a staycation, right? Because we're still
That was
in
a
Maryland.
staycation. That's right. That's
Wow.
right.
Okay. All right. So I guess I was staycationing the whole time. I didn't even know. Okay. All right. So wonderful. Okay. So getting back to your book and everything, what has been really the impact for people who have gotten your book? I know for me, I've actually went through and read some of the stuff, and I really like the fact that after you have given some advice, you actually had them do an activity. And so, what has been the feedback from other people who have gotten your book and worked through the workbook?
They like the activity because it gives them a chance to think outside the box. It's kind of like what you said earlier about you were staycationing and didn't realize that you were staycationing. When you give people ideas and everything, it's kind of like you're giving them advice. And sometimes you know what they say about advice. Well, if I wanted your advice, I'd have asked for your advice. But when you give them ideas and then you have them write it out, then they can come up with their own ideas as well. It's like, okay, thank you for tipping it off. It's like clicking on a light bulb. And that's what I've heard, especially about the sense of humor part of it, because I believe I covered like movies and I covered slips and falls and other things. And I'm always dating myself. You remember the Kool-Aid commercial? No, it was the Hawaiian Punch
The
commercials where
high,
you
that's
fall
right.
back and everything.
That's right.
Yes, I believe I covered that in there too. And people were like, I never really thought of a sense of humor to really bring out or help me feel better as part of my wellness. So they were thinking about some of the things that made them laugh or some of the things that they like to watch or like my husband likes turtles. I have no idea why, but he does.
My
And
husband
whenever
had turtles. I mean, we had turtles. We had two turtles. It was pretty
well,
cool.
he's always thinking about green purple turtles on roller skates.
Oh Lord. Okay.
And that's his thing to make things laugh. So he's like, as he was reading my book, he says, "Yeah, I can put the turtles in the roller skates and spin them." I'm like, "Yeah, you want to make them dizzy, right?"
Mhm.
So that's the main feedback that I've gotten from people who have bought the book was that they like the fact that they can put their own ideas in there. The fact that their light bulb has been turned on to think outside the box for what helps them.
Okay. All right. So, what other activities will you be involved in the next few months that you want people to know about? Or, let them know also that you are doing public speaking. So, if somebody wants to have you come out and speak to their employees or their staff, or just generally come out to an event and talk about health and wellness, talk about some of the activities that you're going to be in, and your radio show too. You did a radio show at one point. Are you still doing those things?
The radio show I put on hold for right now, but I am doing public speaking like what you were saying. I am still in the process of training people to speak in public, to share their stories of their mental wellness and their recovery efforts. So I'm helping them to go to different organizations to educate people and eliminate the stigma on mental illness. I'm also going to be in a play called This Is My Brave, which will be on May 12th here in Baltimore, and it's nationwide. They do it nationwide. That will be filmed and aired on YouTube eventually. And basically, what it is, it's a play of individuals who live with mental health issues as well as family members, and they share their stories of recovery and how they're feeling and how they got through it. Not just the painful aspects, but the good aspects of how they're living today. I'll be doing a couple of webinars with going through anxiety and how to manage the anxiety and how to practice mindful techniques. Let me see, what else am I doing? Oh, and come July 27th, there will be a book signing tour. I've got a lady named Anita Johnson coming from Sacramento, California, here to Baltimore to teach women about financial wellness and how to manage your finances. So we're going to talk about financial wellness along with mental wellness. So that's going to be exciting. And you and I are doing a collaboration for individuals who are trying to go to work.
Right,
So
right.
yes,
Absolutely.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
We got to do that again. So, what she's talking about, y'all, is that last year we did a Get the Job workshop, which helped individuals who are having trouble finding jobs or going back to the workforce, or college students to come in and get free resume critiques. And Andrea was nice enough to come down and talk about business acumen skills. So, we're going to have a part two to the Get the Job coming up in April.
Yes, and I'm really super excited. I'll be talking about mental wellness on the job, and basically what that is, because you covered it earlier, and about sometimes when you're anxious about finding a job, we'll talk about how to manage your anxiety and consider the things that you can do and the things that you cannot do, what your employer is expecting from you, how to communicate with your employer, and how to take care of your mental wellness while you are not only looking for a job, but even after you've found the job. Um,
Yeah.
I believe that's what I've got going on this year so far. Of course, there's
Okay.
still so much more of the year to come, but
I
so far.
know, I know. And you know what? One last thing you want to tell people about too is that you have been chosen to do some counseling or some consulting with an organization coming up. So you're going to be doing some of that too, right?
Yes, yes, yes. I've got an organization who is seriously considering implementing my 12 Steps program as well as my What's in the Name program. And the What's in the Name program is basically designed for individuals who are newly diagnosed. As I said before, when I was first diagnosed, I was very angry, couldn't understand what was going on, and so heavily stigmatized that I literally thought that I was going to be locked away in a psychiatric facility forever and ever. Amen. So what the What's in the Name program does is help individuals not only understand their diagnosis, but to learn some different coping skills and to remind them that they're still a human being, not to identify themselves as the diagnosis, but to identify themselves by the God-given name that they were given, and to live their lives as to the best of their ability.
Okay. So go ahead and give everybody your contact information so that they can reach out to you to have you come speak, or if they want to know more about your 12 steps book and your programs, give them your contact.
Okay, well, you can find me at www.andrealandrybrown.org. That's my website. My phone number is 443-805-5884. You can find me on Facebook and on LinkedIn under my name, Andrea Landry Brown. I'm also on Instagram under Mental Wellness Diva. Yes, I am the diva. And let me explain that, because every time I tell people I'm the diva, they kind of look at me like they do them rock stars, like, oh, you got to have everything your way.
Mhm.
It's not so much that. It's more the strength of it. To me, when I call myself the diva, it's because I've walked so far in this road of recovery of mine, and I've learned so much that it has made me stronger as an individual, as a woman, and as an advocate. I have gained quite a bit of resources and knowledge in management skills that it has made me stronger as an individual. So to me, that strength that I have learned for myself and to assist others. That's why I call myself a diva.
And you sure are a diva. And I really appreciate you coming back again. And not only just doing that, but just being supportive and participating in the cause to pay it forward and educate. And so I am a huge component of that. And so forever grateful for all the help and support that you have given Austin Tech and some of the things that you have done, even on Facebook Live to everybody else who is listening to your platform. And so, everybody who's listening to this podcast right now, you already heard it from Andrea. You're going to hear from a few more people here that is going to be talking about mental illness because it is a growing problem, but it's also a way to resolve it if we pull together all of our resources and really help people deal with their anxiety, deal with depression, or even deal with just getting therapy because it's life, and life is hard. And so we all need to have somebody objective, somebody who cares, and somebody who's consistent in our lives that can help us work through some of these issues because we cannot no longer ignore the fact that people are suffering with this or even showing signs of this because as you see we ended up with disastrous situations. So Andrea, thank you so much for being a corporate sponsor for the BMWOC. I am really appreciative of you on this platform.
Thank you so much for having me. I have